Okay, so here's those examples of the city scenes. All right, so you've got your choice of 1-point or 2-point perspective. And once you get the hang of using the 1-point or 2-point perspective tools, start adding some interesting details like awnings, doors, windows, roads, sidewalks. This one's got some nice cast shadows actually from the buildings and the school bus. All right, so make sure to take a closer look at the examples posted on Google Classroom. All right, your city scene could be realistic, or you could give it some fantasy elements. Maybe there's floating buildings. Here's one in 1-point perspective. Is it nighttime or is it daytime in yours? Okay, to get started, let's go ahead and start with adding a background sky. So to begin, I'm going to go drop down my fill swatches, go to the library on the left-hand side and drop down your libraries. I'm going to go to gradients and sky. All right, next up, I'm going to get my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle the kind of where I think the sky is going to be. I'm going to put my horizon line down a little bit lower. I want more sky, less ground. And I'll go ahead and fill with a gradient. Okay, so I filled with a gradient, but the gradient by default is left to right linear. Let's go get your gradient tool and go ahead and edit your gradient. And when you're happy with how your sky looks, go ahead and open up your layers palette and let's lock that layer. So go to that empty space by the eyeball and click it to lock that layer. All right, and then we're going to add a new layer. Right, if you can't find your layers icon, just go to Window Layers. All right, so in your layers palette now, you locked layer 1 with the sky, and you made a brand new layer, layer 2, where we're going to put your city scene. All right, I'm going to start by adding some 2-point buildings. So let's go to View, Perspective Grid, 2-point perspective, normal view. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. And I would like to move my grid around a little bit. So I'm going to get my perspective grid tool, and I'm going to go ahead and move that horizon line down to where I ended my sky. And I'm going to skew my buildings maybe to the left. So I'm going to grab the gray dots to move my grid over to the left. All right, now my vanishing points are still off the picture plane. That's okay. If you want to bring yours in though to make your buildings seem taller, you could do that. Okay, so I'm ready to begin. I'm going to start with my first building. It's going to be right here. So perspective grid tool, I'm going to click on right now. I've got the left grid active. I'll get my rectangle tool and choose a fill color. And I'll draw my first building. My building is going to be on the horizon line to begin. And I'm going to give it no stroke. Okay, I'll click away to deselect. Back to the perspective grid tool. I'm going to click on the right side of the cube to get the right grid active. I'm going to choose a different fill color, get that rectangle tool, and draw the right side of the building. Okay, now at this point, I could make some more buildings to the right since I've got the right grid active. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'll just make some more buildings, and I'm just doing the right hand grid. Okay, now notice there's no grid right here. That doesn't matter. Look, I can still draw another building. All right, and I decided I wanted this one to be a little taller. So I've just got my white direct select arrow, and I'm making it bigger. Okay, so I've got my right side of the buildings. Time for the left. Go back to the perspective grid tool, and I need the left grid to be active so that I can do the left side of these buildings. Okay, make sure you deselect it. I'm going to do the left side of the buildings now. Take a look. I'm doing the left grid. I'm going to start on the top and drag down. And now notice what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of overlap the other building. Okay, now, since it's overlapping the other building, it looks like it's sort of floating in front of the other building. Now, that's an option if you want a floating city. But if I wanted this to look realistic, I'm going to select this side, and I'm going to send it to the back. Object, arrange, send it to the back of the stack. Okay, so now take a look. That left plane is now behind the building in front of it. I'm going to do that again. All right, I'm still on the left side of the mini cube, the left grid. Get my rectangle tool, go to the next building. I'll start at the top, click, drag out down to the bottom, hopefully. All right, now, once again, it's in front of this building, not realistic. Let's select it with the black arrow, object, arrange, send to back. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat this 2 more times for these 2 buildings that I started. I only have the right side or the right plane. I need the left one. So now I made that one a little bit shorter so you can actually see the back of the building. You could do that. This one's longer, as if it's hidden behind the building in front of it. If you want to edit your shape while you draw, hold the mouse and hold the space bar to move your shape around. Or you can edit after you drew the shape with your white direct select arrow. All right, so I've got 1 row of buildings on the right-hand side. How about the left-hand side? I want to go this way now. Okay, so right now let's go back to perspective grid tool, And look in your Minikube. Right now I've actually got the left grid active. Okay, so I'm going to get my black arrow, click away to deselect, make sure nothing's selected. All right, get my rectangle tool. I'm on the left grid. So now I'll make some more of the building faces that are going left. Okay, so I've got my left receding face. Now I need the right of each building, the right receding face of each building. All right, so I got my black arrow. I clicked away to deselect. I'm going to switch to my color I've been using for the receding planes on the right. Go back to the perspective grid tool. I need to choose the right grid, the right side of the Minikube. And now I can get my rectangle tool and draw the right side of each building. All right, now once again, I need to decide, do I want this to stick out like this? Looks kind of interesting, kind of unusual. Or do I want to send that back? How about I'll leave that one like that, and the next one I'll send back. Okay, so far I've got some basic buildings, receding both left and receding right. Now it's time to start adding some interesting details. Maybe I want to stack some. Maybe I want some of these buildings to be taller. I'm on the right grid. So how about I'll add a floating cube on top here. By the way, this one doesn't look correct. This one did not snap. There it is. How about I'll add a floating thing on top of this building. All right, so I've made the right side. I'm going to go back to perspective grid tool, add the left side by clicking on the left grid. All right, this one's floating. I need to be able to see the bottom. So I'm going to go back to perspective grid tool. I'm going to click on the horizontal plane on the Minikube, the bottom of the Minikube. All right, so see how our cube practice is paying off? All right, I think I'll change the color of the bottom and I'll send it to the back. All right, so now I've got a floating object on top. All right, next time we'll resume, start adding interior details like windows and doors.